Okay, guys, good morning. Melissa here. So I hope this video helps a lot of women. I just called the court to see whether I'm divorced or not because I hadn't heard anything. And basically, the court said that there's no order yet. So the judge has everything with him. He has the proposal, everything. So, it really doesn't matter, really, at this point, what the business side of this marriage is, whether, what the proposal is, except having to deal with the business side of the marriage. So, let me just share some stuff to help other women here. Yesterday I was like, you know what? I'm not even, I'm busy doing my own stuff. Somebody had left a comment on my channel like, welcome to the divorce club. And I'm like, oh, am I divorced? I don't know. I didn't go. So obviously, this is someone who is involved, I think, with my family. But, anyways, I'm like, I didn't even know. And I'm like, wow, I don't have to worry about being pushed again from my husband. So yesterday I was like, I had a delay. I'm here. I'm actually leaving to go to my apartment. I'm busting over because we, with my son's work and my other son's work, we're having a hard time, getting on the same page for all my stuff before the U-Haul to get over there. So I'm like, okay, last night I'm like, I'll just bus over if you guys, you know, aren't coming over tonight to get some stuff. And then with my infection, I'm like, no, don't push yourself. It's better to rest. So my infection is looking really good just with that 1 day of rest. I'm on my last day of medication. I did miss one pill, so I'll have to take one tomorrow. But I'm like, no, actually, take it easy. Just stop. And I'm hyper. I'm very hyper. My brother was hyper too growing up. My son, one of my sons, extremely hyper. Actually, two of them. So, I'm like, just rest, just rest. So I had extra time with God last night and, um, it was really a good night for me. I ordered pizza. I just took it easy. And one of the things God did for me, there were a couple things. I asked a friend what movie they like because I was in the mood for some romance. And I'm like, actually, you know what? You've been wanting to see that trailer on Farrah Fawcett about the burning bed. So I have that link over on my channel. And you know what? A couple things God showed me yesterday. And this is really important. It is not okay to put up with any kind of domestic abuse at all. And as I look back, I was processing like the last couple years with my husband, and he has been free already, right? He's been doing his own life. But when he sent me an envelope with a bunch of stamps of freedom, he was lashing out again. This whole divorce has been him lashing out rather than solving things. Um, so when I was looking back, I'm like, Melissa, I watched the burning bed. Farrah Fawcett did an amazing job in this movie. It was wrenching. It was, all the reviews are just like amazing actress, amazing. So she did. You can see in the trailer her being kicked and slapped in the head and kicked around and punched, kind of thing with her husband. And you think, what is the matter with this woman? Why would she put up with such a thing, right? And they say domestic abuse becomes a habit. That's what happens. It becomes a habit. And so you see, like, when they first got married in this movie, they were all happy, they expected a lot of sweetness. And shortly after, she's now in abuse. And it starts with a slap, and then it goes further and further. And she ends up, it's based on a true story, I didn't know this. the woman ends up in self-defense, taking gas when her husband's sleeping, gasoline, and then starting the bed on fire. And she runs for her life and her kid's life. And this is a movie that changed society, thanks to Farrah Fawcett and the movie. Because back in the day, I mean, I even remember this in the 70s, women had no real rights. You just didn't. Even looking at that movie in 1984, you can see like the 70-ish deck, decor. You can see, like the blanket on the bed, very old fashioned. It was knit. You can see like, just that style. And men ruled their homes. They ruled, and they didn't in the secular world, and they didn't always a woman didn't have a voice, so this is debatable, and a lot of people are like, oh, was she was it murder or was it self-defense? So very debatable movie. Despite what you think, no man no woman deserves to be hit by her husband. So I'm watching this yesterday, and this is the first time I saw this trailer, and I want to watch the movie. And I'm like, holy cow, no one in their right mind would put up with that. But yet, if you understand domestic abuse, a lot of people don't. They're like, why doesn't she just leave? It's not so easy for women to do that. Back in the day, women didn't do that. As a matter of fact, okay, let me say something. You can honor your parents' position, right? You can honor their position, but it doesn't mean that you need to cover up truth or lie, right, for your family. So one thing that happened to me when I was like 12, I was like, I will never, ever, ever get married. And that was a conversation with my mother. And the reason why is because I saw sometimes my father not being very nice to my mother. That was the picture I had. And, my grandmother said, your father, I don't know what's wrong with him, when he got married, he hit your mom over the head with a phone. And, there was stuff that wasn't right. And I'm not going to get into it, but he was not a good example to my brother. And my brother had, some issues years ago with, some things he saw from my father. My brother actually once had me pinned down and punched me when we were growing up. I can barely remember it because of all the chaos, but my husband actually stepped in and said, you don't punch your sister. And my husband was there, right? So my brother back in the day did not have a good example. And, basically my mother put up with quite a bit. And if you look at Farrah Fawcett in the movie, she looks like a battered wife. And that is kind of how my mother looked a lot growing up. So, I mean, there was some stuff that just wasn't right. And when we look at this and we say, where does it start? How does this happen? I was listening to Steven Speaks. You can check my community channel. He's on there. Some songs. Yesterday I was looking at songs about divorce. My husband pushed me and he didn't admit it. And I look back and I think about when he did not want me to go to school, much like Farrah Fawcett's husband on there. He's like, you're not going to school. My husband did not want me to go to college. And he did, what's the word? Take a fit about that. He chopped up my credit cards. He did, I don't know if I told him to chop them up. Maybe I did. But he was controlling and I didn't see it. And somebody had said to me, a pastor later on, when I was trying to communicate about some things going on in my marriage, he said, well, you married him, didn't you? A lot of women marry men and they don't understand how they are. So for my husband to push me later on, it's something that I would have never thought he would have done. And I kind of like was too nice about it, to be honest, too nice. And so I was like, you know what? He said he was sorry. I have a text. I'm sorry for that. It was shameful or whatever. Um and I forgave him because he had never done it before. I forgave him. And I look back and think, even though I told him you're in your truck, I think I was too nice about it, to be honest. I think I was. I didn't think, now seeing more with domestic abuse, I didn't think it was something that I couldn't overcome. And obviously, I could overcome it because I'm a strong woman. I don't know why, my mother put up with quite a bit. And I had said to a friend, I don't know why, but I can take quite a bit in life. I don't know why I'm like that. And, I think I learned it from my mother. Honestly, I think I learned to put up with a lot from my mother. And the thing is, though, when you look at this and you come out of this stuff, I mean, it's been a couple years I've been away. My self esteem has been restored because he was being verbally and emotionally mean too. And I don't know what was going on with him except stuff from his childhood trauma was coming up. He was not being nice at all to me. And I protected my kids, and I'm like, you guys need to leave right now, Uh, and I was like, you can come over here and shower to my husband, but when the kids are not around, you are not going to be a bad example to them. So he did come over. We were trying to work it out. It only took about a month. He showered. He had food, and but otherwise he was in his truck in the winter. And I'm like, you are never going to push me again. And so I thought we had worked it out. I thought, okay, give him a chance because this has never happened. Although he was like Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, he'd be like, I was at Macris Lobster Pool and I had gotten a job there. I had worked for the Macrises before. My husband was screaming bloody murder at me for, leaving a job and then getting another job. He was screaming bloody murder. He would do this repeatedly, and then he'd be like, I'm sorry, I love you. I don't know why I treat you like a punching bag. And I just figured, he's just a bear, probably because I can take so much. And I didn't really see the dangers of this, because after that, he did push me. And of course, I didn't want, their dad to be arrested in front of them and stuff, so I didn't press charges. And then for him in court to not admit it and, to commit perjury under oath with Leandro, and then, to use this whole divorce just to lash out at me and lie about me is another form of abuse. So now that I'm away from it, I see it more clearly. And I was watching Steven Speaks yesterday, just some time to digest this whole divorce thing. And although I was still willing to work it out with my husband, if he got counsel, I can see, wait a minute, you look at your pattern here. So they say when a woman comes from a home where there has been domestic abuse, like my father, I remember when he grabbed me by the hair, pulled my hair out, threw me against the door, and my mother's like, oh, you deserve that. I didn't deserve it. So when you come from a home where there is a lot of, it's shame-based, my grandmother was like, all men are the same, Melissa. They all want one thing. As she prostituted and went out at night with men, etc. After having 10 kids, we don't even know that they're all hers. It's just a real shame-based family. So I had one of my relatives say, you're the only one who came out of this, Melissa. You're the only one who came out of this family. And that was years ago. And I thought I had turned pretty much everything around in my life. I had a friend in high school who, said,